You know, we're closer to a decision on the unfinished Wayne County Jail. Wayne County Executive Warren Evans says he's looking at settling on an offer from Dan Gilbert's Rock Ventures to develop the jail site in exchange for building a new justice complex a few miles away. Now, the Rock Ventures office is about a $520 million offer and would include a $1 billion investment on the Gratiot site that may include a pro soccer stadium, hotel. You know, the new criminal justice complex, including jail, would be at I-75 in East Warren at the Detroit transportation site. Evans says there are some details still to work out with Rock Ventures, but this is where they're putting their focus, saying this deal, instead of finishing the project at Gratiot, would be better for the taxpayers. And let me start with you, Stephen. You spoke with Warren Evans this week. Mm-hmm. What are some of the fine details that they're looking at right now, or they're looking to kind of push to make sure it's the right thing for Wayne?
Well, I mean, you've got to vet all the numbers and make sure they actually can come out of this with all of the things that they need, right? The county doesn't just need new jail space; it needs a new courthouse, it needs new juvenile facilities, and all those things. So you want to make sure that that's actually going to happen if you sign this deal. One of the other questions still out there, though, is this IRS penalty that they would face if they move the jail site from where it is over to Warren, because they sold bonds for that original site. The IRS would assess them some sort of penalty, I think, for doing that. Is that going to be so big that the deal doesn't end up making sense? I think that's one of the biggest outstanding issues. My sense from talking to Warren, though, is that this is pretty much, I mean, barring something extraordinary, some extraordinary discovery about something that's not going to happen or some cost that's unforeseen, this is the way that they want to go.
So, Nolan, when you saw the news that this is the way that they're leaning, did you say this is probably the right thing that they should do, or do you still have some
No, I think it's an inspired deal. I think nothing changes the fact that the Wayne County taxpayers got shafted to the tune of about $140 million with this jail. This was just a complete boondoggle, and somebody probably should have paid a much stiffer price for that bungling and outright corruption. And
no prison terms yet.
But if you look at, if you look at that era, that was $150 million on the jail, $35 million at this racetrack that never got. This is the Ficano years. This racetrack that never produced. $17 million for the Guardian building. I mean, we are in a different day, thank goodness, in terms of investing the taxpayer money. And I think this is an inspired deal. You get, particularly because you get protection from cost overruns, and that's what doomed the original jail project.
That is a huge thing.
So let me skip a little further, and maybe this is a little farther down the road to take a look at. But does pro soccer fly in Detroit at that location? Is that the best?
You're probably asking the wrong generation. I mean, if you go out
Whoa,
to
Nolan, are you saying that you're old?
I think you're post-soccer. I mean, if I was talking about all three of us, but if you look at those Detroit Football Club, those fans are fanatical.
Different fans, though.
There are six, but you don't know if he'll be able to convert them.
I was just going to say, he's an anti-establishment fan.
So if you go out to those DCFC games, they have like paper mache mock-ups of Dan Gilbert, and they're saying no MLS, and I mean they're actively pushing back against the idea that we would get Major League Soccer here. So I think it is a different crowd. The tickets for that are $10 too. They aren't going to be $10 if he spends $1 billion on a stadium downtown.
I think it's a good seed. It's a good start. I think you can convert some of those people and build off of it. I wouldn't go to a Major League Soccer game if somebody were paying me to go.
Yes, you
but
would.
There's a lot of kids.
You might.
I would not. There's a lot of kids.
I'm gonna write this down.
There's a lot of kids who grew up playing
there's a lot
soccer.
of fans. There are a lot of soccer fans here.
A lot of kids who play.
I think the bigger question for me is, does this end up harming the DCFC, which I think is this really remarkable group of sort of plucky entrepreneurs who've got something good going. I mean, they've got something that actually works. If they siphon off their fans, do you leave them sort of high and dry?
People don't necessarily have to choose. I mean, they can do both.
They don't. My prediction is that
two different experiences, perhaps.
Yeah, my prediction is that you'll see some sort of collaboration between Dan Gilbert and his group and the DCFC group that tries to preserve all of it, even if they have.
If they're smart, they'll learn from that group and make the experience in that new stadium very similar to what what these folks are doing out there.
All right.